Greetings everyone, this is Elizabeth and today is October 17th of our fall Halloween series, and that just means whatever I create, you can take a little twist on it and easily turn it into either fall or Halloween, whichever you like. And today I have a wonderful idea. We're gonna pick two critters. I did pick a Halloween and a fall critter just because it's gonna be so easy. This is the one element you're gonna change to make it either fall or Halloween. And I made a bunch of these last year. I'll link the video where I made a slider card with these guys. They are from, pardon me, I didn't have that part ready. The little bat mouse is from Pet Monsters from Creative Vision Stamps. They are out of business, but that is what it's called if you want to look for it on eBay or a de-stash site. And that is what that set looks like. Super cute. And I've got a baggie of these guys all pre-cut and colored. I made a little army of them. And this little cute squirrel is from Hedge Hugs by Stamping Up. I'll peel this up. This one's a little sticky there. But it comes with a couple of hedgehogs and some fun little stuff. But I just stamped the little squirrel. And I stamped it out with ground espresso. Now, stamping with distress ink does leave it a little distressed. And I wanted that because I'm going to color over it with some alcohol markers. Because this is a water-based. These aren't going to move the color. And it will give a more rich texture for the squirrel when we color over the top of it. So we'll do that a little bit later. We have our little bat. Mousy bat, mouse vampire, I guess. He's not really a bat, he's a vampire. We need 2 card panels for this project, okay? And that's because we need to cut a hole in one of them and make it like their little home in a tree. And then we're going to use some foam tape and stuff and make it fun and interesting. And you'll see what I mean in a little bit. We're gonna do, what are we gonna do? We're gonna start with our stencil. If you have an embossing folder, that will work. If you have a wood stencil, that would work. If you have textured paper that looks like wood, that would work. Anything wood-like will work beautifully for this. I just happen to have a Heidi Swap screen stencil. And, silk screen stencil. And it's made of a screen and they block it off and you can run a paste through it and it will leave a beautiful raised area, very fine detail. You don't have to run out and buy designer paste, okay? I'm a multi-crafter. I love this stuff. You can use what you have. If you have any brand texture paste and a little bit of paint, we can make our own brown paste. Before we get this going, though, we do need to ink up our paper. Otherwise, it'll be a white paper with some tree lines, and we don't want that. So I've got my big old inking brush. It's got a little bit of brown on it from previous, which is perfectly fine. I'm just going to grab a couple of colors of brown and just ink it up. And I don't mind what the center looks like because we're going to cut a hole in this. Oh yes, we're going to cut a hole. Now, this is the under panel. We're only going to see where the hole is cut. So for this, we just basically need to texturize a circle area. we go. Look at that. So we definitely have a dark spot, and then our hole will be right there. Now we're going to clean up our ink because that's a lot of ink and we don't want to waste that, okay? And so all we're going to do is we're going to add it right to this panel, and it's going to do some fun, interesting stuff. Now, we do want this panel to dry. So if you're going to do a lot of these cards, go ahead. Pardon me, somebody's neighbors are hollering. Do all the inking and stuff, set them aside, get all that inking down, and then go back through, and then we're going to do our stencil. But I need to dry mine, so I'll be right back. Our panel is nice and dry. It doesn't feel cold. It's nice and warm and even. So we're going to grab our little stencil, and silk screens are sticky on one side. They are easy to wash. I do not recommend adding anything with mica or glitter in it because it clogs the pores and it doesn't clean off. As you can see, mine is covered in glitter, so it's not going to give me a perfect texture, but it's going to still be really cool. And I'm just going to smoosh this down, make sure it's got a good adhesion to my paper. I'm going to grab my acrylic stamping block. Anything slick, you can even mix your stuff right on your glass mat, but I find these a little bit easier to clean when I'm working with pastes and stuff. Again, if you're a mixed media artist, you would just grab your stencil paste. Folk Art makes their design cream. It's super luscious and it cleans up just as well. But for our non-mixed media friends who may just have some texture paste laying around, we're going to grab a little bit, because a little bit goes a long way, okay? So we're just going to get that in there, get it moving, smoosh, lift, smoosh, lift, smoosh, okay? Get that moving around. I might need a little bit more than that, because we want it to go through all of the stencil and cover our paper. Okay. And now we're going to take a little bit of the Distress Paint Antique Bronze. Now this does have a little bit of mica in it. I know I just said don't use anything with micas and stuff, but I've already ruined my stencil. So I'm just going to keep going. And just a few little drops, okay, just to change the color of that white. Lift and smoosh, lift and smoosh. Just blend that all together, and then you have a beautiful, ooh, look at that. Such a beautiful color. Now, credit card, gift card, anything that has a wide area for our paste to go down, because trying to get this all over my stencil would take me forever. So I'm just going to apply it to this, and then I can see where my paper is. So I'm just going to drag this down, scrape, get it up, push it down and pull it as far as you can, and scrape it up and do it all over again. And work your way down your stencil. And then you can kind of see that it's sticking in the areas. And I seem to have picked just the right amount of this goo to do this. Okay, and then we're going to make sure we get all the extras off, and we're going to peel. Woo-hoo. Look at that. Now, these need to be cleaned ASAP, right away. So I'm going to pause you and go clean it. Everything is nice and clean, and Is this dry? It does dry quickly. Yes, it is dry. Woohoo! And see, everything cleaned up really nice. I just warm water and a rag, or if you have a silicone scrubber like this, you can gently massage your silk screen. It is a delicate item, so just be careful. Make sure your sink is super clean and it doesn't have any grease or anything, little hairs hanging out. Okay, so now we have our tree, but we want a hole for our little person to live on their little tree. Okay, so we're gonna grab a pencil, and you guys can do this. I have faith in you. Okay, you're gonna get your little critter centered, whatever size. If it's a bird, an owl, whatever you're using. Okay, you're just gonna set it in the center as best you can, and then you're gonna go sketchy sketchy all the way around. You can go up and down and around. Okay, here's the fun part. Don't make it a circle. If you've ever seen a tree, the holes that are there was from a branch, and branches are not perfectly round. They have a lot of texture to them. Okay, so here's my sketchy circle. I mean, it's just really sketchy. And now all I'm going to do is you can take your scissors, poke a hole in the center, cut, and then cut around your thing. I like my X-Acto knife, so I'm just going to put my X-Acto knife right to the paper. I do have a little cutting mat, a little self-healing one. You can cut right on your glass mat, but I'm always worried that my knife is going to slip, whereas the self-healing mats catch it a little bit. Okay, you can even use a cutting board, whatever you have handy. Dollar Tree has those plastic cutting mats that are like $1, you know, and they're tossables. I think you get 3 of them in a pack. A lot of people use those, but I got this little guy at the Dollar Tree, and I have a huge cutting mat on my other table for when I do lots of projects. Then I do sessions, like I'll do all my inking here and then move over and do all my cutting on the other table. But look at our little hole. And then our second piece, remember that? There's our little hole. Now this one, we are going to trim it. We made sure that this fits over there. So we're going to take a hair off of each, a short side and a long side. Like I said, that's because our technique of attaching the two is going to cause the top piece to be smaller. So this is 4. So I'm just going to go between, you know, the next set of lines. So there's 4. I'm just going to scooch it back. Not quite a 1/4 inch, just a hair. That's all we need. And then we're going to do the same for one of the other sides. And we were at 5 1/4, so I'm just going to scoot it back a hair. Okay. That way there, when we put these together, there's going to be plenty of room. Plenty of room. Now, let's add some more details. Okay. This looks great, right? But we want to add some texture, some ink around our freshly cut center, okay, because that's not very pretty like that. So all we're going to do is we're going to tap into our dark color and just go around the edge. I should have erased my pencil line, but I don't think anybody will notice. We'll just cover it with the dark. Okay. And then we're going to fan that out. Just not re-inking our brush, just swirl it around a little bit. And that's going to help fan that color out except where we missed right there. And then just fan that out. See that? Okay, now we're going to do the same with our edge. We're going to, sorry, that's really clicky. There we go. Tap in there and just grab some of that brown. And I'm not being perfect because it's a tree. If you look at a tree, it's a bazillion shades of brown. It's not one shade. It's got a lot of texture and depth. So we're just gonna do that. Go swirl in just a little bit right in there. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so assembly, because her card is almost done. Can you believe it? This is just a matter of ink blending, stenciling. Again, if you don't have a stencil, you can use paper that looks like wood. You would cut your hole and you would still ink the edges just like we're doing. That would be even quicker than doing it this way. Okay, we are going to need some foam dots. Okay, you want some with a good height. They don't have to be, we don't want them too skinny because then the transition between flat and puffy isn't gonna be that dramatic. Okay, so I just peeled the top because I had that little piece there and I didn't want to forget it. And I've peeled the ring around the circle, okay? And all I'm going to do is I'm going to line up one side because remember we cut it a little bit short. We're going to line it up on the one side to help us out. One side and one bottom. And then the rest will kind of just fall into place. Okay, just like so. And then we can start. Oops, I'm still missed. Even with it being a little short, I still missed. Look it. That's okay. Things I mess up. It's hilarious. Okay, so we're just going to pull all of these adhesive covers off. Okay. And I'll show you how we can fix it if you don't trim the back, or if you do trim the back like me and then miss how it's supposed to go together. Okay. You can just grab some scissors. And what you're going to do is, because the tape is not right up to the edge, you're going to put your scissors just under the top paper and just trim along. There we go. Ha 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 ha. Push that little foam dot back. And now we have this raised pockety area for our little critter. Before we put him in, we're going to grab our little card base. Haha, looks good. Now, because it is, raised up in areas, it makes the base kind of puffy. So we're just going to add a couple of strips of tape to hold this down to our card. Don't need a ton. Don't need a ton. Just a couple little strips to hold everybody down. You can pair it up with the glue if you like. I don't need to. And then we're gonna kind of get that as centered as possible. Remember, you don't have as much wiggle room with the tape. So there's that. Oh, look it. Okay. Critter time. I almost forgot. We got to color this squirrel. Now, remember, I stamped it in one of the distress inks, which left it a little bit blotchy. And I am perfectly fine with that, because now when I take my reddish brown over the top, okay, it's going to leave some interesting texture in the marker marks, okay? And we won't have that smooth marker coloring like we do with our bat. And I just think it's a really neat effect to color over distressed ink. And of course, the squirrel has those little white highlights in its stamping, so when we go over those, they're going to be this nice reddish color, reddish brown. Look at that. I think he's adorable. And now you can decide which one goes where. And even better, okay, there's our little spooky Halloween. Haha. It's so cute. We don't have to decide. We have just made two. Now on this one, I had a little bit of texture paste left over, so I went ahead and did use it on the back. But as you can see, it doesn't really matter. How fabulous is that? We're gonna grab some pop dots, and I have some super fat pop dots. Ooh, I'm fibbing. I'm about out. I've got one super fat pop dot. That's all right. We'll use this one on our squirrel. Maybe. Come on, squirrely. Just use that little pop dot on this guy. He'll be fine. Right there. Just like so. And then this guy, because I have a die cut for him, I did cut a little shadow. So I'm going to glue the shadow down. Maybe. Find me some glue. I'm going to glue our little shadow down. That's what's really fun about the die cuts. That if you do get a die cut with your set, you know, you can do that. And then how will he look bouncing around? Oh, look at, and he'll have a permanent shadow. So we're going to peel. I'm going to peel. Oh my goodness. We just need to peel it back. Okay, put this in the center of our little dude, and then we're going to pop this thinner layer. You just bend it back and that'll peel really nicely, and then the clear piece goes against your base like so. Look it, and now we have a fall and a Halloween card all set to go, but basically exactly the same except for those. How fabulous is that, you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If this inspires you to get a little crafty, be sure to hashtag chat with Sassy on Instagram and Facebook, or join the Chat with Sassy's Crafty Friends and share photos there. We would love to see what you've created. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.